You should see Squirrel messing with me backstage. Whenever nobody else, she thinks nobody's looking. She thinks nobody's looking. Hello, everybody. Who all's on there? Oh, we got the cowboy, Rusty. Anybody else?
Can't you read?
Gary, how you doing? Billy, how are you? Kevin, Sharon. Well, whatever. There's 16 people watching right now, and we just started, so I will take that as a good sign. Anyway, how is everybody doing? Hope everyone is doing good and everything. Squirrel, what you been up to this week? Did you break more lawn equipment and try to fix it?
Oh my gosh, I break everything. Like it never fails. But no, I couldn't fix the tiller, but
dang it. Is it the motor? Is the motor's gone?
I don't know. I actually took it apart and I can turn the flywheel and it still turns the pulley, but I can hear something kind of popping inside a little bit. So I don't know. I broke something, maybe a spring or.
Don't ask me. I have to get.
I don't work on motors.
I have to get Mark Green's help to like plant basic vegetables, and I need everybody's help for like other mechanical stuff. I can build a house from top to bottom, but I'm horrible with machinery, with engines, especially small gas engines. Man, I've got the death touch on it. Didn't y'all go out last night?
We did.
Didn't you go out last night?
It was after 5 o'clock before I got in the bed. I was wore out. But now we didn't have a whole lot happen. We had a lot of people go with us last night, but we found some pretty cool stuff. Just, they're looking around at night. We just went out kind of night hiking. So I've got some pictures. I just ain't had a chance to really look through everything we took yet, but it was still fun.
I know.
It's always fun.
Heck, we still need to go over some of the stuff from the past couple weeks. I mean, it's just, you get behind, you got life and you got a job and all that kind of stuff. It just, it takes
long to go through it all.
It does if you're doing it right. Yeah. And even then you still don't find nothing. Damn it. Well, might as well bring out our guests. These two are some people that a lot of you will recognize. They are in a lot of the chats. They have gone to a bunch of outings. They go out on their own and everything. But this is Joe and Pat, also known as Blue-Eyed Northern. So,
hey y'all.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Pat. How's it going, y'all?
Great. How are y'all?
Oh, we're good.
It's nice to finally talk to you.
What's the weather like in Louisiana right now?
80 today, 81.
I think it was in the high 40s last night, maybe.
Yes.
Really? 81.
Mm-hmm. It warmed up fast. By this afternoon, it'll be warmed up.
Yes. It's beautiful.
Now, is it always that way?
No.
Is it always that way down there? Like in April or May, it's always already in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But it also go right back down just like it does at y'all's. It's weird the way the weather is throughout the states. We have these cold spats, snaps every now and then till mid-May to June. Then it locks it in pretty much for everybody's done by then.
Yeah. Look, that river behind y'all. I know you told me the name of it, but I cannot remember it. What is that?
That's Cane River Lake.
Is there gators in that thing?
No, it's a few.
Yes.
It's a few gators in there.
You need to point that camera down more because if gator comes up behind you, I want to see it.
Oh, no, there's none out there right now. It's down a hill, actually. We're quite a ways from the actual river.
I want to get it recorded on YouTube if a gator comes up and bites Joe in the ass while we're doing an interview. Gator comes up live behind you.
It won't happen.
We haven't seen our pet gator lately. They have nuisance. If they have a nuisance call on them, they will take them out. And sometimes you'll have them for a couple of years and then they'll go missing. Of course, people around here will kind of snipe one and eat one every now and then.
Yeah. Well, fried gator is awesome.
Yes.
We have them here.
You have what?
Yeah, we have them here. We'll have 2 or 3 like in the spring or summer.
Yeah. I like some gator. I'd be tempted to poach one if I lived down there. Everything from the skin to the tail meat. Yep.
You don't tell that, Spencer.
They pretty much take off. I had one last year that kind of was trying to snark me into coming down to the dock there. And I said, oh no, that's what you're wanting. You know, thought I would come up into the water there. So I backed off a little bit.
When we first started dating, it was a little bitty one, you know, with a head about that long. Come right up to the dock. We was down there fishing or something. And we was just discussing that. But she had lived in Florida for years, so gators was no big deal to her as far as being around. You know, they're more, it's kind of like everything else. They're spreading out too. They down here on our main highway, which is 49, we see them hit down there all the time where they're traveling, I guess, to do whatever they do.
Big old snakes too, don't you, in Florida? Big old snakes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, we have turtles also as well come up into the yard here and lay their eggs in my flower beds.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, it'd be another month or two before they start that.
It looks kind of like a swampy area where you are right there. So do you guys ever have any Bigfoot activity right there, like at the house?
No,
not really.
As we know of.
No, we're at the edge of town, and probably a half a mile up the road, there is a wildlife fisheries. Why would they come down here?
They got a bunch of ponds there.
Yeah, they got a bunch of ponds there that they can get food out of.
They grow fingerlings and all that to put out here, there, and yonder, and God knows what all. But I still think, you know, we were talking about, people talk about they use the gas lines and high lines to travel, especially through y'all's mountainous terrain where it's pretty rough going. Why wouldn't they use that railroad track? You know, the railroad tracks go through a lot of rural areas, and that would be an easy traverse. And it's one running right behind our house back here. But we have, to me, that would be a third deal. You know, high line, a pipeline, and the railroad track be something they could easily move long distances and all. And
I've got one right across the road from me.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I mean, you get on the track as a kid, you can be across town. It's straight. You go these roads, it's, you know, you're going all over the place.
Yeah.
They could move easily in that kind of deal at night.
Yes, yeah.
I've heard other people suggest that they have seen them around train tracks and stuff before. So, I mean, it's just, you know, I think the overall common theme is a lot of people think that they typically move up and down like waterways or whatnot. You do hear a lot of people say about where they clear for like main power lines running through. I do hear a lot of people say that, but I've heard a few people talk about the train tracks as being areas where they've found evidence or had a visual sighting of them over there. So, I mean, why wouldn't they use anything like that? You know, I mean, it's, who knows what they do? I don't know what they do. I ain't ever even seen one. So I don't
know if y'all got it, but we got old trams as abandoned railroad tracks. It goes throughout the country. In most towns, they're adjacent to water. Most towns, the railroad tracks are, you know, going to whatever the towns is for, you know, years and years, transportation and moving of goods. So it's all hooked together, really. You know, them being around water. Well, it's right here too, right up on the hills, railroad track right behind that. So all that could tie together. As far as, yeah, they may use waterways, but you go down the high line very far, you're going to cross a creek somewhere. They could use that creek east and west, you know, as opposed to north and south.
Thanks, Joe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What did Pat cook that was so good? What do you cook that's so good, Pat? Don't tell me Cincinnati chili.
Oh yeah, right. I can make that. I am a chef by trade.
Are you?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm large by trade.
It's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
He's probably talking about, I think I made red beans and rice, and I made some jambalaya when we all went out together.
Ooh.
As well.
You
And
need to
took with us
cook
camping.
I'm gonna invite you to our next camp outs. Then you can do the cooking, and I like to eat both those things.
Steaks. She does all that and has her own little marinade stuff. And we don't go without when we go camping.
Oh no. Oh no.
Well,
We're not
there ain't no reason to.
Oh no.
So I mean, you guys have been around like since I got into the subject, whatever, about 6 years ago. I've always seen you two in the chat, and I mean, we've talked back and forth and everything. And I think a lot of people recognize y'all, you know, just like name recognition, know who you are. And then you've been on some of these larger like get together things, and several people have met y'all and everything. But there's going to be a whole lot of people who don't know anything about you. So for each one of you, can you kind of walk through like how you even got into the whole Bigfoot thing?
You can go ahead. You go first.
Well,
before Joe gets going, Pat, do you have a knife or a fork?
I got the
10
pen.
minutes. 10 minutes. All
I
right.
got the pen.
Well, I'm like many people. I got kind of was into the sci-fi part of things with Leonard Nimoy was way back in the day. And then like them or not, finding Bigfoot had his place. And, now we knew about Knox. Before that, we were having them, I'm sure, but we just didn't know these things. We had Knox, we had trackways, different things to look for. Well, about in 2013 or 14, I take a notion. I'm hunting on the old family land, go out behind the family land, and about 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting on the ground doing rattling and all that, and grunt rattle sequence, and then I have a tree knock right out in front of me. Then to answer that one is one at about a 45, answered him back, not too far away. And I work shift work, so that was on a Monday, Tuesday. And I can remember it. When I got off Friday, I went back. I worked a couple of days and went back. When I was getting in my stand, I heard another one. So that was in the pasture. That was about the first thing I started putting together. Well, hell, it might be something here. It might be something to all that. And I can tell you, when you're on the ground rattling and you have tree knocks, out there that sounds like they're really close, it don't take long to make up your mind that it might be time to go back to the truck. Because if they're stalking you and you pretending to be a deer fighting, and they're stalking you, then get up close enough to realize they ain't getting you're a human, they signal one another and got away from them. So I let them have it. I went back to the truck. I looked all that fall for tracks, could never find none. I wasn't accessible to go because it was private land everywhere, but I never found anything. I had like 3 knocks and a few owls didn't sound like owls, a few coyotes didn't sound like coyote type thing. And then that rocked on, and it kind of just went away. Didn't have any more for a few years. And that spring, I went on into another part of my life, was turkey hunting, and I had a tree knock out there that spring on government land, and that was my first any contact on the government land that I remember. I'm sure I may have had something, but I didn't recognize what it, anything was at that time. Then I ran across a tree break, or then I ran across a couple tree breaks. That might be something. So I'm looking at it, taking pictures on some of them, and 2 or 3 years after I had my little knock in the Marthaville area, I was Facebooking, messaging Mike Woolley, of all people.
Holy cow!
And he was on a nuisance call, in the same area within about a mile of where I had my little knocks and stuff. And as I was asking, were you near that area? He was texting me back that that's exactly where he was. And of course, I looked it up on satellite photo, and I seen the people's property, and they had a bunch of gardens. They came up from when Rita and Katrina it hit New Orleans. They came up out of South Louisiana, bought out of Pine Thicket, and built them a home site. And there were gardens all out in that thicket, and that was their problem. They was having nuisance. They called him about Bigfoot getting in. I guess their gardens was pulling them out there. Plus, they was in a thick spot too. You know, they were just sprang up right in the middle of a place that used to be a pine thicket. They had bought him a little tract, and he was making that call. Well, that put another instance in the area, so I felt good that I just wasn't crazy and hearing something. He had, within a mile, he had was on that call there, and it was a couple of years. And about a crow flies, it wasn't no piece from the property I was on, and that was another food source nearby. The chicken houses were food source all around there. I don't know if y'all have them up yonder where y'all live. We have lots of chicken growers, and it just rocked on. And every year or two, something I'd have some kind of interest to go by. I've had lots of things come up that it was more than one of us there, and we all heard it. And that's the best. When you by yourself and hear something, well, if just old Joe Blow heard something. But if it's three of y'all hearing it,
Right.
and three of y'all confirm that's what you heard, then it's way more solid. Regardless of what's making the noise, everybody heard the wood knock. We went out with Cowboy Joe that's just been on your show. We stepping out of the truck. And I'll say this, anybody Bigfooting, before you get out of the truck, you have everything you're going to have. You got recorders, have them on. You got power, video, have it on. 9 times out of 10, you always catch the fish on the first cast. You step out of the truck and you ain't got it on, you'll hear something every time. You have it on, at least you be ready if there's something happens. And most people don't get anything. That's happened to us that day. All 4 of us heard it. Didn't get it recorded because nobody had his recorder going.
Nope.
But in a second, it was coming live, but too late. We didn't have any more that evening. Mm-hmm. But it was 4 of us heard that, and that was out at Red Dirt.
A couple of the things that you were just talking about, like tree knocks or the possible, whenever you said sound like a coyote but not really a coyote, or sound like an owl but not really an owl, like even a tree knock, before I ever got my butt out in the woods and started looking for these things, in my head I used to think that whenever people would say like a tree knock, I was like, well, how on earth can you tell? That could be the wind broke a branch or whatnot. No, you can tell. It sounds like somebody, whenever you hear this stuff with your own ears, it's kind of like what you and I were talking about backstage about the pictures. You can be standing over a pretty decent track, but you just take a picture of it with the camera, and for somebody to look at it online, it doesn't really, look that impressive. But if you're standing there in person, you can see the depth of it, and how big it is and how wide it is and everything. It's all the difference in the world whenever you catch this stuff firsthand, when you experience it firsthand. And you were talking to Mike Woolley. Mike Woolley's encounter, if some of y'all have not heard Mike Woolley's encounter stories, he's got more than one. And unfortunately, Mr. Woolley passed away not that long ago.
That's so terrible.
Oh, he seemed like a really nice guy. I did
him about one time, and that was just, it was weird. It was like cyberspace. He was telling me that's where it was, the question I asked him. And, and I was asking the question, and he said, well, it's right by so-and-so. And it came back. It was weird. And I'm thinking, well, if it is, let me look on Google. It can't be far from the place. And they had a house in a thicket, and you can pick your poison. They had a house on the side of the road right there where he's talking about, that's clean and everything's perfect. But this house in the thicket had all these garden spots and all that. And no brainer to me. they got a prime place to slip out there and get them something, tear up stuff, and they breaking people's stuff down. They got tired of it. And they called him on that nuisance call. He commenced to tell me just a few miles through the wood he used to live and had chicken houses, and they were over there too. So I don't think they stay all in one spot all the time around here. I think they move to where the food sources is. If they got acorns in the bottom and a lot of deers down there, I think they're over there. And hogs, I think they're over there. But I haven't had that same kind of in all these years, I haven't had that same kind of deal happen since then either. I had some weird stuff happen, but I can't tell you, what did it, and I won't even.
No. We need to hear about that. We need to hear about the weird stuff. Go ahead. Let's get Misty. Misty's going to be on this.
I got it. I got the weird stuff.
It ain't.
I got
this last year. We got all over the place. I get there, and I smell this raunchy smell all high heaven. I pull my truck off right by it. So right on the side of the road, my grandma's old place. I smell this raunchy smell. What the heck? But it's real thick in there because the old house fell in, not been taken care of. It ain't on my property, it's on somebody else's. And I smell that old raunchy smell. The next day I come back, or next time I come back to hunt, I park in the same place. Go out there, nothing. If it was decaying matter, it would have been there decaying and smelling for a lot longer. I've shot deer with my bow and they go missing. You find blood, nothing.
Yeah.
I had a ground blind in the pasture on the opposite end. Something doe rolled it up. It's tied down, so I know the wind, unless a deer run through it, and they don't normally, run through a ground blind, which is a pop-up blind like your tent. You pop it up, got your ground blind you can hunt out of, and something doe rolled it all up, like it tore it up. I said, well, it could be, but I mean, maybe a deer run through it. I don't know. I don't think the wind did it because it was tied down fairly well on corners and everything. But in the evening times, it was a bull would be lowing over there in the pasture, and it sounded like a hell of a. That bull over in the pasture right about dark would sound like boogerish sound calls. It was. I can't say it was nothing but a bull because I knew them cows were over in the corner. We cornered up to the property, but Lord, it sounded like it could be mixing in with that noise and lowing over there. But I never walked over and looked at it, but it sounded creepy over there. I can tell you that. I don't know. I've looked, and I know I don't have the stuff happening all the time. I don't think very many people can go out every day and have something, but that particular place, and I had about 3 other places I've had repetitive things happening a year or two apart, or maybe 3 years apart, 4 years apart, and it'd be tree knocks there. I'd be whistled at, be sitting there in my turkey in the ghillie suit, turkey hunting, and have something come up and whistle at me, or come right up on top of me just about. And I'm froze. I mean, I'm not moving. I said, if it's a booger, I'm going to let him walk on by if I can. And it just back out. And it would back out making a little noise, and it back out and go. I've had, I don't know if I ain't had memory loss when all this was going on, because my compasses wouldn't work, or I have time of sleep and, maybe fell off to sleep. I don't know if it was just me or it was something to do with what was going on, but I have, little quirky things happen during these times. And I like to say I have, there's 2 or 3 places we go that's pretty regular. Mm-hmm. We can have either a wood knock or something's going on there about every time we go. Not always, but a lot of the time, especially at night when you go. But people always talk about night. 90% of my stuff's always been during the day because it's always hunting related, and I don't hunt at night.
Right.
I go boogering at night, but don't think they don't knock during the day. Don't think they don't do stuff all day long, because they do. They may lay up too, but don't be scared to go out walking and doing your thing during the day, because you could very well have some kind of incident. And I'm not saying a sighting, but it could be. I haven't had one, but they do their thing day and night. They're not just a night. And I don't know if it's just because they won't let their fellow critters know that somebody's in the area or what. But I've had most of my stuff has been during the day, knocks and things. You go during the night, it's fine too. It's going to get to a point now it's so hot you can't do nothing else. But I'm gonna let Pat talk about going to Flat Rocks. He's a good friend of ours. We've been to Falk, and I'm gonna let Pat talk about that.
Yeah, we've been to several places.
Now we went there in Red Dirt, and I ran into his sister.
What was that?
Huh?
Joe pointed at the camera and his hand.
Just Joe.
Well, okay.
It's just Joe. He's
okay, miss. People, they got the worst green room has ever been.
Food in the green room.
No food, no drink, no nothing in the green room. Anyway, we went out, and I did turkey hunting and ran into these women. And I didn't know it was women, but I ran into some tents. It looked like a brothel going on in the woods. They had lights flicking in the morning and all this. And I said, it can't be but one set of people that I've seen do this before. And it turns out it's Debbie and Barbara and Barbara's sister. They have their own. They have their little way of doing things. They have good success. They had their own. Barbara had a shadow come up. They heard whistles. Well, before they had heard whistles in there, that I know, I didn't heard whistles in that same area myself. I sat down there and told them for a little while when I was there, came back and talked to them that I'd have been whistled at in that area too, and had howls. But I'm right on the edge of these howls that sound like coyotes, but they sound like they jacked up coyotes. You know what I'm saying? They're iffy on what they are to me. But I've been 4 daylight there waiting on turkeys and have howls just right on top of the truck that about rattle the windows. But I'm not saying they're Bigfoot. I'm just saying it was just a weird howl.
Right.
And, but that was in the same area, so it's like I say, it's more than one person has heard weird stuff in that area, and they'll tell their own story about it because they were down there too, and they stayed down there for whatever they did that weekend at camp, and their methods, if there's anything in the area, they're coming to what they do. That's just like Bigfooting in general. I hear a lot of people go 2 miles deep over 2 or 3 hills and hollows and all. Then I hear people that's camping at a campground, rural campground or whatever, or like us up there in a rural campground by ourselves, have just as much luck letting them come to us as going way back off somewhere, letting them, going deep in the woods and having to, I guess you do it because you like hiking, but if it works either way, what's the need? If you can kill one right by the road, if you're deer hunting, you can go 6 miles back there and maybe kill one, but then you got to drag it out or drag all your tent stuff back there and drag it back out.
Well, I think
smarter, not harder.
How many people will tell you quickly, all we do is sit by the fire over here.
A lot.
So
right.
And we had something come up there and rattle the tent or peed on them or whatever. And they wasn't way out in the boonies 6 miles back, 6 miles over and all that. They were just on a semi-used campground, week to week.
I think a lot of the people first of all, I think that it doesn't matter if you are way back or if you are at one of these rural campgrounds. I think that, if they're going to take an interest in you, you know, they're just as likely to come up to a tent set up in a campground. And if you're camping, primitive camping way off in the middle of nowhere, obviously you're going to stick out like a sore thumb if you're in booger territory, you know, so they're probably going to approach then. But I think a lot, you know, I've done both. I've done out in the middle of the woods, and I've done at campgrounds and everything. And a lot of it, in my opinion, is just you're just doing trial and error and seeing if one works better than the other or whatnot. But like what you said, I think that, you know, Debbie Jones and them, they tend to pick secluded spots, but they're not necessarily miles in the middle of the woods. But then again, it's a group of women that are out there, and they will tell you, you know, they play music and have the twinkle lights, and they laugh and talk loud and have a good time. And they have, you know, 5,000% more success than I do doing what I'm doing. So, you know,
well, like you done it.
Maybe I should be putting out twinkle lights and stuff. Well, I think we had too many people.
We do all kinds of stuff, but it's just on what you. We played off of. I didn't tell it, but when we had our trailer and all situation, the week before they had a bunch of people there. They rented the little campground to do, just say, a horse ride, or they done something. And I'm sure they dumped food out all around that thing. They were making all kind of ruckus the whole week, night and day. And these things ain't done. Why do I want to go get a dumpster at Joe Casino if I can do the same dumpster diving around this bunch of old ladies throwing out stuff when they got through cooking because they ain't bringing that crap back home. And I think we played off of that. We were just mom and pop, old man, old lady out in the woods.
What we do.
Got in the back of the park, back of the campground, and I think they were already there. Just we finna mess with these two old dudes.
That's what they do too.
You know, I just think they done it for as you would say, shits and giggles. And I might be wrong.
Yeah. Well,
I think they do a lot of things.
You think that we're their entertainment, right? Like a lot of people talk about they ain't got no TV, so they come up and watch us.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I'm afraid so. I think we think we're so smart, but actually we're not as smart as what we think we are. You know, if it had to be, we could put our finger on them. You can't put your finger on them.
I believe they like women as well. I usually will keep my hair up, and my hair's lighter, so I keep it down, especially when I'm in the woods.
What's that blonde hair?
Yeah. Way they know the difference. But I'm a knower. So I had an encounter, we went, that
was Falk.
That was at Falk, Arkansas. Dee Sims had an outing for her channel back in 2019.
I believe so.
And a group of us all went. Joe went. This is before Joe and I even started dating or anything like that. We were friends. And he hadn't got there yet. He was coming. But there was a group of us women mainly that were down by the dock down there. And we camped there for like 3 days before anybody else came. And it was just women. Well, the night before, on a Thursday night, what we would do is we would go in our tents like about 10:30 or so. And we would have the windows open. And I would sit up all night. I'd be next to Dee Sims and I'd be talking to her or whatever. We could commute back and forth and stuff. And we were running, and they started running in between the tents, and they're very fast. And it was a full moon, and they had put down. I'd get him. They started as they were running through the camp, and in between our tents. What they were doing is they were smashing down on my tent. They pushed down on my tent. And about the third time I come up out of there, I had enough of that. And Dee Sim says, "What's the matter, Pat?" And I said, "They've touched me this time." So she had me come out of my tent, and we walked over to the edge of the park there, where they were coming up from at the bank. And she said, "Tell them to knock it off." And we didn't have any more trouble the rest of the night. But I could see the shadows because, like I said, it was a full moon. So you could see everything going on. And then the next night, Joe had came, and Christy Sci-Fi was coming into town, and she stayed in the tent with Joe as well. And we were up late, and Joe was already in his tent, which was next to mine, and he was sound asleep. Well, we had Christy and all of us, we went ahead and he was the sleeping camper. Well, we went in and we went to bed, and I sat up like I always do. And lo and behold, about a half hour later, it's quiet. The light is on in his tent because Christy couldn't get the light out. And like I said, there's a full moon coming down. And all of a sudden, I see something crawling up to the tent. It crawled right past D. Sim's tent, up to his tent, and I could see the cone-shaped head. It was probably 15 feet away. I could see the cone-shaped head, and as it was crawling up, I could only see partial body from the chest up. And of course, I had to say something because I think I'm gonna be friends with him. No, I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And it stopped and it backed out. A few minutes later, so I stayed quiet. A few minutes later, came up and it reached its arm out to touch the tent. And I could see the arm and I could see the hair dangling down. I could tell you it was black.
Wow.
I couldn't make out any facial features. But of course, I had to say something again because I was so excited. And, and I said, "Hey, come here. Come here. You know, I'm going to talk to it like a dog or something. Like, come here. I want to see you. Come here." And it backed out, and that was the end of it. You know, but Joe was in that tent right next to where it was going to touch. So,
I've ever been.
You know, I had that experience.
Holy cow.
And that was at Falk. And we also heard a lot of screams, a lot of yelling, a lot of things like that going on when it was just us women there. So, you know, like I said, them running through camp is really freaky. The pushing down on my tent is something I'll never forget. You know, I slept with my shoes on all night, the rest of the night in my tent.
Right.
You know, but that was just at Falk. We have had Christy also went camping with us last year up at Falk, and we were riding around, Joe and Christy and myself. We heard knocks right there. We were going back to the launch or whatever, and she did a call, and there was a return call right then. And Joe heard it, and I heard it.
There was. It sounded just. Now we can't say what call back, but it sounded
something.
The whoop sounded just like her.
Yeah.
Now we had Coyote started up, and I'll tell you what it is. It's right past the shooting range in Falk. It's a gas line. We was parked in the middle of that gas line in the road.
Right.
And because you could hear up down that gas line if something echoed. They had a swamp down on one end of it, and the other end went uphill on private land. And we stopped, and she called, and the coyotes are already starting. It was at twilight, and they'd already started. And something up the road whooped right back at her. I don't know what it is, but I heard it. She heard it. Pat heard it.
We've heard enough that we can tell the difference. I can tell the difference. I've had enough.
Yeah. Hey, Misty, would you please tell Joe to quit rocking before he makes my Bell's palsy kick in? Just look down there. Just look down there and tell him.
Sit still with that nervous tick. Get him pure. Misty, that's all.
Wait,
Why
so
do I have to tell him? He's not bothering me.
Okay.
hey, y'all.
Tell the story, Spencer. What do you want?
Okay. In Marthansville, okay, where Joe's farm is at, where he has had all of his experiences at. We went up there the one time, and we're putting out corn. He's going to go up and put out corn. I'm going to stay at the road. You have a picture of that as well. And it was probably, what did we say, 30 yards away? Okay, I walked down.
Yeah,
I stayed at the truck. And I walked down. I walked down the road to see if I could see any prints or just nosing around. He didn't want me to go up there because the rattlesnakes had been pretty active. Okay, so I'm coming back. And I'm walking back towards the truck. And I'm wiping my boots off in the grass because I had a bunch of mud on my boots. All of a sudden, I heard this scream right behind me. It sounded like an angry old man just right behind me. And before I could, and I was on the edge of the road, I go to look up expecting someone to be there. And I can tell you where the location was at and everything. It was like about 30 yards away from me. It was very close. And I turned around and nothing was there. And I stood there for a few minutes. And I thought, hey, I might want to get in the truck. You know, there's a firearm in the truck or whatever. And I said, I might want to get in the truck here and not hang out here. And because Joe's a distance away from me. So I get in the truck. I'm not going to shut the door because I don't want to put the window down, and I'm going to listen. And about 10 minutes later, I hear that same yell up the hill. So I know it was gone at that point. And I got back out of the truck, but I didn't see anything, you know.
You had a hairy arm reach out and try to touch you in a tent,
Joe.
and you wanted to get out and talk to it like a dog, but
Yeah.
Some old man on the side of the road yells, "Get off my grass," and you run for the truck and a firearm.
Exactly.
She
I
has
stood
lost,
out there for a few minutes.
I will tell you, she has lost that D. Sims enthusiasm from the time I met her to now, or whatever. She is near to hear that and to hear now. When she tells you the trailer story, I was there for that, and it was some of the same principles was applied that night, and
oh no, I'm going to tell this story.
Oh, you are.
I'm telling this one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you we were in the National Forest and we were camping, and we're back in there. We don't have internet service. I don't think we can even get phone service. This is how far back we're in.
Right.
And we're off by ourselves. There's a trail going down the hill. I have my little lights. I put out little things on the ground for triggers, and I sleep with myself propped up in the bed so I can see, because we are in a camper now. And so I can see out the window all night long and check on things. I wake him up and I go, look, the light come on. Look, the light come on. And I've actually picked up a lot of things on recorders when I do put things out. But Joe's in bed in the bedroom. We had just went to bed, and I'm climbing up into bed, and I hear something, and I said, Joe, there's an air conditioner running, there's a generator running, and I can hear this over the generator. I hear the movement outside the bedroom window on Joe's side. And I said, Joe, there's something out there. I hear it.
Leave me alone.
And I said, he said, oh, leave me alone or something. And anyways, it goes back up, and all of a sudden there's something at the door and there's movement. So now it's got Joe's attention. So anyways, it comes back towards Joe's side of the camper again, and I can hear the movement. What does Goober do? bam, 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 bam on the side of the wall. All of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And the trailer is rocking back and forth and back and forth. And what really even scared me is I was afraid they were going to get up on the roof. Something was, whatever was rocking was going to get on the roof. He leaves the pass-through open, which is underneath our bed. That scares me even more because whatever it is could crawl up underneath my bed where I'm laying and moving. So Pat has to do something. She has to take control of the situation.
That half-inch OSB was going to hold a booger.
Don't you know that's everybody's nightmare is just
the mother in
the bed.
A mother, yeah,
She thought she had them arms coming through that wood and just sucking her down.
No. So the woman, being a woman, we have to take charge of things, and being a mother. So what I do, because he's beat on the wall, he's already stirred things up. So what I do.
She missed it. She ruined it. We could have had a show.
I got on. I hollered him. I said, that's just about enough. You can knock that off right now. We're not having any of that. Somebody can get hurt. You stop it right now. And did you know it automatically all stopped? And they walked
think it was
around.
Juveniles, maybe, is why just being mischievous.
It's not a human. A human being was not out there.
Well, I'm seeing a pattern here. They seem to like Joe, so
yeah.
That trailer, I think, is what they like.
They
in the back of
like
my
our
truck.
Camper. They like the back of his truck. Something likes the back of his truck because we have they're beating on buckets and different things like that. We have all that going on, but that's what he got him stirred up that time. But I can hear him walking the rest of the night, but it was real quiet.
Whenever all of this has happened to you, but like especially on that camper story, were you guys putting out like bait or anything? Were you setting apples or food or anything out? So
no, I don't bait them. I don't bait them. Now, this is what we had to do. Okay, a half hour or so after all this experience happens, now it's summertime, it's hot. What we have to do, the generator goes off. We have no air. We got to go outside. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. So I had the option. I either go outside with him, and he's got the firearm and the protection, and I stay in, or I go out with him. So I went out. We had to go out with him. It was him and I. He's in boxers. I'm in my nightgown. He hands me a judge and a flashlight, and he's going out and putting gas in the generator as I'm shotgun.
Yeah.
Literally.
People out there.
Well, we did a little trick. I used my fob to start my truck. Before we went out, I done that to spook off anything might be just hanging around.
Yes.
Well, the story, my side of the story is a little different than her. My claim is, this is my claim to the story is, I think y'all might have been in LBL. I had this phone, so I was putting it up under my pillow. Yeah. I'm going to listen to y'all do a live. Or,
he was listening to Beast.
Or somebody. And we just 10 o'clock, we just took showers. Wonderful thing about an RV, you can get out and get grungy you want to. You get you a good shower, get in bed, you feel like something. I'm just getting settled in, and then all of a sudden, this is what in my mind, what happened. It's like, wham, right by the door. It's enough to shake the trailer. And then it kind of quieted down. Well, we left the awning out. I think we left the light off, but the awning was out, and the wind was blowing, so the first night we was there, we didn't even turn on the AC because it was good and cool night, kind of like today is. And so it hits real hard. I'm thinking, this something's coming in the door. He'll get right there to the foot of the bed where the little door is, and I'm gonna give one in the whatever. And that happened. Then it quieted back down, and wouldn't but a little bit. I hit that closet on the side. Well, it started back a little bit of noise. She said, "Well, won't you I said, you reckon that's that awning popping or something? So, well, go roll it in. So, of course, I get some, just like always, Spencer, the women get us to do all the dirty work. I had to get up over here and go roll the damn awning in. We turn the outside light on so you can see out. Well, I don't know if it was that trip or another one. When I get, our trailer's made, the very tongue is the bedroom, middle is the living room, the very back is a back bath. When I get to that back bath, between the back of the trailer and the truck, all hell breaks loose like something ran off.
Mm-hmm.
No giggling from nobody, no truck lights from nobody, nothing. I mean, just out there by yourself. We ain't got nothing to say it's some goofball trying to pull a prank on us. Yeah, none of that. Mm-hmm. That happened. Well, somewhere in between all that, something comes out under that dang slide out and makes all kind of racket like blah, 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 under that slide out. We're both hearing this stuff. And then she eventually leans up in the bed and hollers something to the effect of knock it off. And then it quietens down. And about, say, an hour or so later goes by, probably about 1 o'clock, the generator runs out of gas. So here we are. So I grabbed the pistol out from the nightstand thing. I give her the judge. And then
okay.
All right, Larry, don't be so funny. That Slade Monk killed me with that. That's what it did. Slade Monk killed me with that. Anyway, so we have all this going on, and we had to get, like I say, I fired the truck up, run the boogers off. If there was any out there, we didn't see any. I'll go get the gas out back of the truck. She comes out, she holds the gun in one hand, the light in the other, and we get the thing, and everything fires back up. Well, she says, I didn't hear it, but of course I've been working the mill all my life, so I can't hear that good. That she heard a little scurrying around during the night, but nothing else really got out of hand. I shouldn't have hit the wall, but I don't know. I just, but I always think about these things, you know. But I always hear people talk about, I just slapped him in the damn tent. No, there was a bear. I just slapped him. Well, I just slapped the wall. Maybe that wasn't a good idea.
I do that here at my house, Joe. I've got hunting dogs out back behind the barn, and we've got like fox and coyotes and all kinds of stuff that comes up in the field. And if my dogs get to going, I know there's something out there, and I'll probably scare my husband to death because we'll be just in bed. He'll be asleep for hours, and the dogs will get going. I'll just reach up to start smacking the wall.
Yeah,
our bed is at that end of the house.
You know, the first time I met Mark Newble, Shelly, and Larry, and Debbie, Bear, and Miss Vicky, Mr. Dan, that was all on Grenada's Lake, what Larry was talking about. And the first time we stayed down by the boat launch at the dam, I think it is. And that's where they had their show from years and years ago where Bigfoot came down on them. And you'll have to ask Larry about it more than me because he'll probably remember the story. It comes from Bear when he was on there with it. What was the name of that fella? Anyway, they were doing some kind of blog talk back in the day. Well, that was the place to decide to do a camp out. So I drove from Natchitoches over there to that. And I met all those guys just to see what it was about. I'd never been anything to any Bigfoot outing type thing. And I had a good time. Let's see. It was Donna and then Slade was both there too. That's way before they got married. And they were cooking and doing all that stuff too. And we had we went around. What was good, you saw about what people we had, and we had a Corps engineer's hand that had an experience, and that was his area. Grenada Lake was, and he was taking us around, and him and Barry lived over all his life around the Mississippi there, and so we would all go. We'd all pile out. One guy had a plug-in FLIR that plugged in the bottom of an iPhone at the time. I know y'all know about these things.
Yeah.
And it was a little bitty old box, and it had just one little port,
Yeah,
and had a
we've
camera
got
on
one
it.
of them.
And I think on a AirPad, iPad, or something, it would still be used. Anyway, he plugged this thing in. We all was like in church. We all got behind the screen of this phone, and we was looking. We were all packed in just like that behind that phone and we all were invited. We all got out there, and they all, place to place to place. What callbacks we had or whatever we had. If we didn't, we didn't. But it was an ear and eye opening experience with the guys. That was my first experience of having those. I think they're P33 Sony recorders, and their microphone value. If you carry one, you can't breathe. You can't do anything because it picks it all up if it's on your body or near your body. They would carry it on a shaft so you can get it away from you. So Martin Newell gave me once, why don't you just run this, and while we out here and all, I get to listen to it. I might have the earbuds on. I was using it. He was letting me use it like a hearing microphone with earbuds on. Well, you couldn't breathe with that thing. I mean, it was really for its time. It was pretty good stuff. And I had that experience. So I don't know how long later we went back in another location, and then what Larry was talking about, they had some kind of goulash that Slade made, and between that and whatever, I got overindulged on it or something, and then I had a hell of a damn night on that deal. But we had another good trip. We had another good outing over there. But that's about 6 or 7 hours from the house. I don't know how far it is. God knows how far it is. It's south of Memphis for a ways on 55. I think it's 55. But that was what Larry was talking about. They had a pretty good outing over there. That's the first time I met Slade and all them too. That was cool.
Yeah,
if Slade made stew, I'm pretty sure it was good.
I ate too much of it. Martin Newell was making his cobbler in his little cast iron cobbler too that night, and we didn't go hungry. Everybody brought something. I brought a bunch of. We got this signature sausage up here around Shreveport called Down Home Sausage, and I brought a big old rope of that. We had that. And we didn't go hungry. Brought a gumbo, and I don't remember what all. Had a bunch of deer meat I give away. It was a pretty good outing for everybody. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let's go back to.
Yeah,
she wants to talk about Flat Rock. Watching Cowboy and his wife, mainly Joe, put this together, and invited us to go with him to the Flat Rock Boogers house and spend 2 or 3 nights, and to do a booger recon or whatever you want to call it over there. And go ahead.
No, I call it hunting monsters.
Hunting monsters.
Hunting monsters. Well, when we went, the only thing that I know of is Joe and Cowboy can tell you about what they found around the trees, and I'll let him tell you that. But I was on the second night. It rained the first night. The second night, I pretty much stayed up all night long, laying in my cot in the tent, and our tents were very close to one another. And it was, I don't know, maybe 4:30 in the morning. I don't really know for sure. But, I had heard like weird roosters going on all night long, crowing all night long. And it was very strange. You could hear the coyotes and different things, off and on. The woods kind of come alive. But then at 5 o'clock, that 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, a scream comes through that was no denying, and it was not a coyote. It sounded like a woman, actually. It sounded like a female, and it came through, and it was pretty close to Flat Rock's house that we heard this scream, and we were all awake. Joe vaguely heard it, but the 3 of us definitely heard it. And of course we didn't get it recorded. That's the way it always happens. But Joe found some things out there. Him and the Joe and Joe found some things out there at Flat Rocks that I'll let you tell.
Flat Rock said, "Come on, let's go down here by the creek. I got something, a place we need to look around." So we went down there, and he brought us down on he brought us down on his golf cart and up from his property. So, and Joe Pass has this stuff on his site.
Squatch and cow.
And we found all these carcasses of deer bones. They were weird. The hindquarters, the pelvic was not, the front shoulders were gone. The hindquarters was still attached, but no meat on nothing. The head was gone off most of it. And they were just scattered here, there, and yonder. And I'm not, normally, if you run across people dumping.
Hi, Leanne.
Run across people dumping carcasses or shooting them and dumping them and all, they're not going to drag them off in the woods. All these was out in the woods a little piece and scattered a pretty good ways. And I think it was 4, 5, 6 maybe. I don't remember how many altogether. But it was enough to say this looks weird to come across that many deer carcasses. And they were all Spencer. None of them, like I say, none of them unhit. The hindquarters was not taking off any of them. Now, every once in a while, you would come across one that had a leg broke. Like,
were they wrapped around trees?
Some of them was wrapped up on trees.
How many do you think? How many carcasses do you think it was?
I'm gonna say between 4 and 6, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Good Lord! All in one spot.
Flat Rock said it actually went back and found another one. I think we found 3 within 25 yards of the road. It was like, once you got on them, it was like, bam, right around another little couple steps around some trees, bam, bam. And then we found one up on the side of the hill. It was a long ways from that because it was a creek. Then it went up onto the hill. We went around there looking at all that. Me and Joe went across the road and didn't really find anything, but we went down a creek on the opposite side. Found one skull is all we found over there. But we made a pretty good little round, and it might have been more than that, but I think between like 4 and 6, say. The Flat Rock did say he went back and found another one. I don't know where it was at.
Was the insides still there? Were the guts intact, or were the guts missing?
Just bones. Well, no hair, nothing, just bones. Now, if I would have been poaching, I took what normally you see. People are poaching a lot of times. They do it pretty quick. They hit the back straps. I hit the hindquarters. And if you doing it with a knife, you would separate the ball joint in the hindquarters and take them off. And then you either skin them out there or skin them at the house. All the ball joints in the hindquarters were still attached. All the legs were still there, but the bodies were picked clean. And right up to the heads, the muscles and all were gone down to the bone on the back straps. The rib cage was all clean. I didn't see the prestation of. I know some of it was buzzards probably, but it got that clean. But I didn't see that where they chewed the rib cages up too bad. Like a coyote could chew, literally chew the rib cage right up to the damn backbone, and they'll haul their stuff off too. They don't like.
I was getting ready to say, like, if a coyote gets a hold of it, a lot of times they'll have the legs all torn off and the ribs will be gnawed on and everything.
If you throw a piece of a carcass out, they're gonna haul it somewhere to eat it. They don't usually let it sit there right there where you put it. If you got some waste or something, seems like they got to do their own little thing, whether it's to keep it away from the buzzards or other creatures. I don't know, but it was just weird. Joe's got footage of it. We were all there. We were doing just like everybody does. We looked down and it's like a track, and we keep following up. And all of a sudden, it's a deer there. Then it's another deer and another deer, and some of them's curled around trees like that. Some of them just laying down, out away from the tree, but no hair, no heads, and hide. I don't know. I don't know who does that. Skins one out to that point and throw the hide and the hair in one place. And you know, if you was going to do that, poach one, most people throw that junk real quick, get rid of it, off a bridge, off the side of the road. They don't go out in the woods. I'm not saying it was just weird. I don't know what it was. If it's ever been a killing field, that was one there. Whether it was man or beast, it was done to the more not like a person would have done. Because I would think he took the hindquarters, not just be. You took them off and haul butt with them in the back straps, and then you would took it that way. But these, none of them was unhinged. None of them was taken off the. No saw marks I could see. I looked for all that. I processed deer myself. I didn't see any of that stuff.
First of all, let me just take a moment and say, and I mean this very sincerely, y'all, with as much stuff as you've already talked about on the show, you're very careful to say, I didn't see a booger do it. I don't know what it was, and I commend you on that. I think there's way too many people that jump to that conclusion and say, oh yeah, this was definitely Bigfoot. I know that if I had walked, because I've hunted. I mean, if I walked up on something like that in the middle of the woods, I would think that is damn weird to find stuff like that. The broken leg thing, I mean, and being wrapped around trees, I find that really, really peculiar. And also, like you were saying, like some of them missing the front legs. I mean, I'd so much rather have the hams. I'd rather have the hams off the back legs.
And they got hair. Boogers don't eat hair. They may eat hair, but they don't. You're going to have remnants of hair. The deer, it was weird the way they was handled. Whatever handled them. It was weird. I mean, I've come across it. I'm sure you have too, where somebody shot something and it got the predators eat it up or the whatever, and you got hair everywhere. You got this and that everywhere. But whatever. It was just weird. Why would you take front shoulders off? Which they do. They're not tied on by nothing but just little muscle. Yeah. But I don't know. I can't explain it. I'm sure it's an explanation somewhere down the line for it, but it was just something we came across. And I don't know.
There's something going on at Flat Rocks. Definitely.
Yeah.
Misty. Here, you do it. Hi, Dixie.
And then you try to do it. And then look what happens every single time. Stop touching the buttons.
Okay.
Dixie, thanks for watching the show. Don't be like Misty.
Yeah. No, hey.
What was the good thing that we did? That Joe had a FLIR, Flat Rock to give him. Me and Flat Rock and Joe, we go down from Flat Rock's house down to a creek. We sit in the pitch dark for probably an hour. Just sitting, looking. They may have called, I don't remember. They may have owl hoot, I don't remember. But we was in the pitch dark. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Now with the thermals, that was a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wrong one.
See why he ain't allowed to mess with the buttons?
Yeah.
Oh, that's better. That's better. Now we isolated him off.
Then we got a couple other things too that really happened as well.
Go ahead, baby.
Okay.
Well,
go ahead. The swamp, but at the swamp, that's, you have a picture of that. That is where we go. I prefer to go out. We walk in the water. This is where I wear rubber boots. I don't particularly care for my snake boots because they're heavy, but that is something that we found. I ran across that. That's a little odd.
Skip.
Hold on, when we find this stuff, we're actually,
there we go.
Normally we're scouting for turkey when we go out. If we're doing the booger thing, we stay around the campfire
That's on the edge of a water hole. I just want to
Yeah.
tell this for the people listening.
at the swamp.
That's on the edge of a water hole, Spencer. And the next step he'd have been in the water is a bush just out of sight from that.
Yes, a tree right there.
Yeah. So we looked in the water. It was fairly like an old haul road full of mud that had been there for 50 years. And we looked in the water. There was no tracks. Nothing I could see.
Right.
I'll go up a little piece. I see one human has gone down through with boot tracks in this mud. And them boogers went out of their way. What they did in that trackway, it was a little bit of land between a road ditch. It was probably a bar ditch at the time when they built the road. And it was a little bit of land that went down in between that mud and that road. And I said, well, if he ain't went over there in that muddy water there, or he didn't go over, which I couldn't see that other bar ditch was too deep to see the bottom of it. I said, well, hell, he got to go right here. So that's where I started looking and following around the trees and stuff. And then that's when I came up on what looks to be a Bigfoot track, a left print, and then a right print. Mm-hmm. Then it gets on around that tree, and they was kind of hiding their tracks in a way.
Whatever it was.
And they just followed that little ridge till they got out to where they wanted to, and they were gone. I mean, I never did see it no more. But it tapered out toward the road, and then they could have crossed the road into another thicket. And this place, for whatever reason, stays wet all the time. Well, that's a good reason it does that. But there's more trees on the ground in this place, semi-virgin size trees, in any place you go out there. They're laid just like that in some of these places. I don't know if it's because the ground stays wet all the time, and then storms come in there from. We had so many hurricanes lately come up that neck of the woods.
Joe, pass.
But this place is laid in big old trees down everywhere. It's so bad you couldn't get on a trail or nothing and stay on it unless you just meander through these trees. But
the spring,
it's a good place for something to be where it'd be hard for you to penetrate. And we've had, I've been out in there turkey hunting and not know anything was there, and not have any kind of sign of anything happening. And then we go back another time, but their houses been a mile there. I think they come and go in the woods, and then they go back over around them houses where people's got chickens and dogs and gardens and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I think I was showing her on the map last night that's the reason why you don't see them all the time when they got acorns and they got. Well, another thing too, we found a lot of hogs down there this year.
Yeah.
Well, if the hogs is in there, the boogers may not be attacking them enough to run them out of there. That was the left-hand track that I found, and that stuff right there, that whatever you want to call it, that green stuff, was very hard to leave a track in, and
we tried.
So I don't know what stood there that long or why, but it takes the shape of a track. And then the next one up with my hands there is the other foot shaped the other way. I think it's a picture in between. That's another story that drift up of trees and that was a big drift in there, and I was going to walk across that thing out to the road. Well, guess what? It was on top of water, but something stepped right in the middle of it. It didn't fall down or nothing. It had one foot divot going through it, and was able to step out of it way better stride than I did. But I mean, the picture don't do it justice. So you can't really tell, but it looks like when you look at it, it's like, well, it's a piece of land here. I just walked to the road, but no, it's a drift of pine straw and leaves up against some trees, and it's deep underneath it.
Yeah, because
that's what the terrain looks like out there. The next picture will show it even better. We bring it down a little bit. I was just kind of showing the horizon.
Yes.
That's what it looks like from a high point in our area. We don't have no flat. About 250-foot hills, as big as we got, right there in that area. No real big ones.
Yeah, that right there. I watched it for like over a year, and I decided to touch it to see if anything would happen on that. We did find that it seems to be close to some crossroads. We don't know what it means, but we do know that there's some green patches right there. There's some roads that cross right there, and back further in there, we had an experience. It would lead back in there. Like I said, I watched this area for really 2 years, and when we were ready to go in there, because it was getting ready to be hunting season, we stayed out. But when all that ended, what did they do? They did a burn. So it ruined it for me, because I believe we found them that night. We found them one night about a half a mile up the road on this same road that's close to there, that we could cut back in there and find all this. Do you remember when you guys were making the what do they call them, the elk calls with the buckets and stuff?
No, that was the bull drum.
The bull drum?
The elk calls, when I was showing Spencer how I was trying to make that out of nothing.
Okay, during that time, we decided we went out to dinner on the lake, and we decided to do a cut through, and it was close to this. And all of a sudden, Joe jumps out of the truck, and he's gonna do a call. I said, oh, what are you gonna do? He said, I'm gonna do a call. So he does one. Couple seconds later, the T-Rex roar come back at him.
Really?
And yes,
that's what.
Yes.
I heard her.
I laughed. I said, "That my man is a Sasquatch." It was huge. It was right there.
She heard it better than I did. And
he said, I'm getting in the truck. He said, I'm out of here. He said, he didn't want it to follow him home.
I don't know. I got in a clear cut where it's clear as the bottom of your floor. So I had some barrier between me and whatever. So, Mark Green at that time had told us about, well, so-and-so came down here and he struck them with an elk call. So I was, being you were talking at the time.
Yeah.
He did.
So I took a Coke bottle. I took a straight reed turkey call. So I get on there and try to make an elk call. Well, of course, I flubbed it up. And I turned around and I tried again. And it came out more like a coyote call. I mean, just real high-pitched coyote sound. And that's what it answered. And it that night it was hot. It was summertime. It was nothing going on. And it provoked it one time, and that was it. And it hadn't provoked it again.
Right. Well,
I ain't heard a coyote down there. I ain't heard nothing. But we went back there since then. We hadn't provoked anything in there since then. But I want to tell you, this structure
was in
today,
this area.
you won't even be able to find it, because it's, whether we got too close to it, they built another, or whatever, it's slowly deteriorated. It don't look like that today.
It changed in 2 weeks. I said, I'm going to do something. I'm going to touch it and mess with it.
I don't know.
We came back in 2 weeks.
It don't look as good as that today.
But there was a burn back in there. And do you know that structure is still there?
But it don't look
What's left of it is still there.
Much.
But where he did that elk call and everything, this is where we found this. And we found other structures too, but not as impressive as this.
Now, I'll be the first one to say, people, a lot of people see the least little branch break or two sticks together in the woods, and they immediately jump on and say it's a Bigfoot structure. And I have not seen a booger with my eyes, but I have found a ton of possible structure.
Right.
And that last picture right there,
it's odd.
I could show you several pictures that I have of something real similar. And as soon as I saw that one, I was like, yep. To me, in my opinion, that's the real deal right there.
Yes.
I've seen it quite a few times, and I think it's I think it's interesting that that you said some of the time these things have changed, like after you touched them. Because
I
I've
think
experienced.
think you might have messed something up by doing that.
I don't know if that's the case or not, but I've seen it also. I've seen it where something will be there for 6 months, 7 months, and you go up and mess with it the least little bit, and then you go back 2 weeks ago and it looks completely different. I mean, it's odd anyway, at the very least.
Yes. Well,
you got to take pictures to see if they added or took away.
That's what we did. I had showed Chris Reinhardt this, and so he said, you got to document. So we would make trips out there, and I would check on the structure to see if anything changed on it. I know that, and like I said, we run across a lot of this stuff when we are scouting for turkey.
She RF'd around this structure and everything around it within probably half a mile that looked like something. She got out in there, and we both got out in there, and we RF'd around there. Sometimes she had hits, sometimes she didn't. But we dang sure went, give it a good going over, trying to figure out, plus we was learning about the RF just like you was.
Right.
We wasn't sure nothing about it. But it was definitely, and I'm going down the road looking for turkey tracks. She's the one who sees this. I done drove by it, I think, and I'm looking for turkey tracks
in there, yeah.
And I'm not looking up, and that's how easy it is when you're a hunter and you're not looking for Bigfoot sign or tracks. Unless they're just sticking out like a sore thumb, you won't see them.
Yep.
You can easily look over, but if you're looking for a certain profile or a certain something, and you get to train your eye for that, it's a lot easier. That's all's on your mind. You're looking for that. It's weird how that is that you can. I mean, if it's really a good one, I don't know how long that they run around that lake over there. It was before it dawned on them there was a trackway on the lake over at LBL. They had a little trackway. They was kind of wanting to know, that might be something. But we run across little tracks in water just springs where they're coming out of the ground. But all we can say is it looks like maybe a human with a shoe off. They're not.
Yeah,
they're not
across that. And this is
got
where
pictures
no
of
one
that
goes.
nest, but we can't do nothing with it because it's just something small. I wouldn't walk around in that garbage with my shoes off, but I ain't saying these people around Louisiana won't.
You're going to get snake bit, and we're way back in there where people don't actually go. This is that is what we found on the slide out. There's other pictures too, but we didn't want to drag it out, so we just sent you this. We got home. When we got home, we checked this out really good because there was a lot of dust and pollen during that time. And we went around with a flashlight. We went around with a flashlight as soon as we got home.
I see that baby.
And
I said, we get home.
It looked like
we get home. We're going to wait till dark and go out there with a flashlight.
Yeah. On the slide out, it looked like something brushed up to it with a bunch of hair and different things like that. We didn't include that.
But around the door handle and the steps, we used it so much. And then people had the ground tore up so bad, it was no place to really see tracks mile wise anyway. So it was
right.
But I said, but all this pollen, Sunday evening we got home, I said, we'll wait till dark. I'm going back out there with a flashlight. And I said, if it's anything there that may hit the trailer and done all this stuff that our mind's seeing is happening, we're going to find something on it.
That's Marthaville. That's where I got screamed at right there.
I don't know why she got
Yelled
that
at.
particular thing, but
that's to show how far out that there's nothing around and no one around.
This goes towards you, Misty. Keep your butt in the truck. You won't have no problem with nothing. I don't have a problem. You women need to stay in the damn truck and play on the phone or something.
I was nosing around.
Oh my God.
Here
we go. This show's getting flagged now. Thanks, Joe.
Oh, is it a female thing I'm going to cross the border on or what?
We're on YouTube. You can't talk like that.
Well, also, listen, now we got to get all this all in. We had that happen. What else? Out here okay, that's where I got yelled at. But in the swamp back up in there,
I get yelled at all the time.
We've heard numerous knocks during the day. We've had the rock clacks. There was nothing for Joe to say at this area here. We also had this particular area in one day. Joe went off and was scouting for turkey, and I couldn't even see him. He was gone somewhere. And I was over by the structure, and I walked away from it. Well, across from me, the turkey. I heard turkey. I thought it was Joe, but I felt like I said, no, this isn't turkey. And it happened like 5 different times, and it was really close. I said, this isn't a turkey. I felt like I was being lured for some reason. And I went to the truck that day. I didn't get in it, but I went to the truck for safety. Because that same day, we had also went to the turkey habitat. We went over there, and I pulled the tri-fill meter out and just like turned it on. Joe's got the keys to the truck. The truck is off. I have no phone on me. I'm using an iPad. I record it. I record the happenings on an iPad that doesn't even have internet service or anything on it. I recorded it all. Like I said, it was just kind of a little bit too long to even send it to you. And it went off the charts. That's at Falk there. But it went off the charts on that day. And also, we went to another area that particular day. And Joe went up the hill. I stayed in the truck. And I heard something crashing through the woods back in there. And a tree fell as well. And it was all that day. I felt very uncomfortable being out there.
Yeah.
I had those several things happen. And I have one more thing that, a couple more things that happened to me because I know it's late.
No, but I got a question. Okay, like you said you're a knower. Do you want to talk about that?
I'm a knower. I'm a knower because I saw one at Falk.
No, I mean like I thought maybe you get like.
I do. I do.
That's
yeah, I'm a little sensitive as well. And I do believe that they do single you out because it seems like more and more I'm having more experiences, and Joe has had some, he said, in the past, but he seems to be having more when he's out with me. I have had the one thing that it was nothing for Joe to say, we're like 25 minutes or so from the National Forest. And it was nothing for him. He'd be on night shift and be off and say, hey, you want to go boogering or go to the woods? And it'd be 10 o'clock at night or whatever. And I go, yeah, let's go.
I want to say this too, Spencer. This has been my home territory. And I started probably in somewhere around in the 1990s and 1980s. So I've been out there for quite a few years hunting and milling around and just riding roads, looking out in the woods. And, a lot of this stuff, y'all go from point to point, and never been there before. And, boy, you really got to pull a rabbit out of the hat unless you get some good intel from somebody.
Yeah. And
even that you go everywhere, that I go to the same places all the time, it still don't happen every day. I think you can look at it two ways. Is it better to learn everything you can learn about your home territory or just skip around everywhere? You want to, some people just want to, like us, we're to a point now, we like to do a little sightseeing too. So see different woods and different things. But it's helped over the years being running every road out there. That was my what I was trying to accomplish. I wanted to know everything I could know.
Yeah.
Now I don't mean I've traveled every inch of the woods, but I have had my share of wood time too.
Out in the
but
forest,
you,
he knows
you got
everywhere.
to spend some time
out
in,
there.
in a place to really
Mhm.
know where your high success places that
Yeah.
might be some kind of booger action, or possibly booger action. Put it that way. And I've had a lot of. I was telling her I've been kind of like stalked back to my truck in the same area that it was another piece of the pie in this same area. I can't hear good at all, so whatever's stalking downside the road or what I'm hearing has to be pretty close because I can't hear. And it got back within 20 yards of the truck, and me being out back in the truck, and then I didn't hear it anymore. I've had that a couple of times, and often you go back in these woods hunting where nobody goes. You hear stuff, you say, well, I guess you out there. What's going on or whatever.
Right.
And I feel like you kind of get the feeling like there's one right over there somewhere messing around looking at you. But that's just the way I feel at times. But over the years, I just put my head down, 4 daylight, stay after dark, hunting deer that you couldn't retrieve on the shot, and all. You just got to put your head down and push forward because this will consume you and take away your lifestyle.
Yeah, he doesn't want to see one.
This will change your life, so you really got to just not let it take over your life. Like everybody says, I've been out here 40 years. I haven't got nothing run over me yet. So, I'm not like Greg where I go out there and I can't even get in the deer stand without something, right there trying to tear me out of the damn deer stand or something or whatever. But that's just what I was telling you. I think there's more of them than there was or used to be. There's more deer than it used to be. It's more everything than it used to be.
Actually, Greg will tell you personally that, he's had some times or a lot of times where didn't anything happen for long periods of time. And then something small would happen, then something big would happen, then nothing for a little while. So, but I think, but a lot of it really probably does come down to location. Yes. What you were talking about earlier, you can thoroughly investigate the areas around you. And, if you spend enough time in, like, let's say you own 100 acres and every single day you're out there walking on some part of your 100 acres, eventually you'll probably get to a point where you're pretty keen on cluing in if something has changed or if something is done different right there. And you have an advantage in that aspect versus going all over the country. I heard about a sighting 3 states over. Let me go over there and look in everything. I think that kind of stuff is more of a crapshoot, more of a hit and miss to just be traveling around a lot.
If you ain't got good intel, it's hard.
Well, I was getting ready to say, but like I get to go do that stuff because I have people tell me, hey, this area over here has a lot of activity going on and everything. And then, hopefully I get to go over there and look at it. But I will say, one other thing you have to keep in mind is even if you grow up spending a lot of time in the woods, I did all the way until I was practically 40. I didn't think nothing about Bigfoot. I hate to think back on all the stuff that I might have overlooked or just chalked up to, whatever, like a woman screaming sound. Bobcats and mountain lions will make sounds similar to that. Foxes will make crazy ass sounds, so if I heard something like that earlier, I wouldn't have paid it no attention. I'd have been like, oh, that's a bobcat. Or walking by and seeing like sticks piled up on a tree. I never stopped and looked at it and thought, is that natural? Can that be done that way? But, it just, I think it takes an open mind, and you have to be keeping an eye open for this stuff when you're in the woods. And then on top of that, you got to spend an adequate amount of time in the woods, preferably in areas that, are somewhat active or supposedly active or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I know I can look back and think of how many times do we have a tree limb that fell out of a tree out of nowhere? Did it fall out or somebody throw it and it just broke, come down through the bush? I mean, but you don't pay that no attention. You just think,
Right.
how did you get hit?
Right.
You just think, well, that tree, you've been sitting there in the woods, and all of a sudden, boom, and you think, thank God I wasn't over at that spot or whatever.
Right.
And you don't, in them days, you never thought about nothing actually pushing it over or throwing it or any of that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people describe having a very, I don't know if I would call it aggressive, but very active situations where there's no doubt that something is trying to get their attention or possibly get them out of the woods. These people that are talking about, they had rocks the size of basketballs thrown right at them and branches got broke and something was growling and had a tree pushed over. That's very obvious signs. So even if you weren't paying attention for Bigfoot, if you didn't know anything about boogers, you would be like, what the heck is going on? It would scare you and it probably would drive you out of the woods. And then there's people like me that willingly go out looking for these things. And I'm like, oh, was that a branch break? And that's a whole different kind of encounter. And I think that the people that have had the really aggressive or very active type of encounters, it's very easy for them to come to the conclusion that there's something out there in the woods, like a booger. And for people like me, I'm often really skeptical to the point where, I could have a tree pushed over, branches broke, pebbles thrown, have stuff on a recorder, and I'll still go home and second guess myself.
Yes, we do all the time.
That's what you're
a week later and being like, am I reading? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think if you're being honest about it, I think you should. Yeah.
If you don't second guess
not every
on something that's there's so many uncertainties about, and like I say, everything till you see this thing do a wood knock. I've talked to people about it, assured me it was done with a mouth. I'm not saying every one was done, but I also have this common sense trying to tell me that he don't walk around with a stick in his hand and you make a knock and it happens to be the perfect tree to knock back right there. I mean, I'd have to see that to confirm that. It's more plausible for me to think, well, he could do whatever or do it with his mouth. If he can do all these other things, you hear people say, I haven't heard all that, but you hear people talking about how they can do so many vocals, being very vocal. Mm-hmm. But it's like a turkey. He can do his thing. It'll rattle in your chest. And I know if you've been around enough situations, you probably heard wood knocks rattle in your chest or something if it's close. Or that kind of reverb or whatever would come off of it. But I can't confirm or deny either way on some of the stuff most anything. All I know is I know now to start looking, and I'm looking. And I'll try to put myself out there and get some exercise. And I think people like walking a line, doing jugs or doing survey work where they just cutting and going. They're just in such a hurry. They don't even realize the rock fell by them or the limb fell by them or they're just on the go. And or maybe the boogers don't even go to all that trouble because they're moving so fast. They're not even slowing down unless they got to take a break or something. But it'd be more of those kind of people tell you, that's out in the woods every day, more than even any of us that's doing survey work and doing doodle bug work, which that's shooting all those, checking for gas and oil and all that stuff. They just on such a go. I think the boogers just don't fool with them as much. It's us beboppers, we bebopper. We're too busy looking, trying to see, trying to hear, and you take in more because you are looking and listening.
Right. There is a question I'd like to ask you. If you've ever heard this before, when we went out like the 10 o'clock at night, which I started telling you, when we when we got out of the truck, 10 feet in front of us. Now it's all swamp there. You have a picture of that right there. I'm not walking in that at night. That's where we found prints and things like that. Well, no,
That's in the swamp.
it's there. That's in the swamp. That is in the area there. No, there's the water. You see
No, we're
the one
looking
with
at
the
this
water.
right here for the.
There's
for
a
the
picture
bird.
at the end that
Yeah,
shows
okay.
the swampiness.
Well,
I'm zooming in.
anyways, I'm standing there at the edge of that. Joe walked down from me. He said, Pat, I have something in front of me. I said, I have something in front of me as well. And you know, it's called a bull roarer, and it was on Crocodile Dundee. And you know, the sound,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had a sound 10 feet in front of me. No, that isn't it. It went whoom, 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 whoom. It happened 5 different times. I shined a flashlight. I did, and I looked around. I couldn't find. That's it right there. That's where you're seeing where we got all those prints. This is the area that we go to. And that is the area where we have found all the prints and things. That's where I heard that noise. The wind was not blowing. I don't know if you have ever heard a sound like that before.
No.
But it was
weird.
It was very, very weird. And it wasn't
that,
the truth.
Being in Louisiana, you've got different indigenous wildlife down there. It's not possible that it was some type of frog or bird or anything like that.
No, I don't believe so.
Didn't sound like anything familiar.
No, it almost reminded me like this would be a sound that I would say this is what infrasound would sound like to me.
Huh.
For some reason.
Well,
but yeah, it just went whoa, 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 right in front of me.
I've heard other people that are way more experienced than myself talk about hearing what they thought was possibly like a young one trying to produce infrasound, and that it would go audibly higher and lower, that it would go whoom, whoom.
Exactly. That's what I was dealing with. That's what I was hearing. And it wasn't a frog, and it was very loud. It was just like in the movie is what I experienced right there in front of me. And I had flashlights on it, trying to figure out what it was.
Deal when he got up on a rock and he took it,
just
he swung it around.
It's a
bull roarer is what they call it.
No, that's
the Aboriginal term is like a didro or doodro or something. Yeah. I thought about making one of those to try in the woods, just kind of like a bull roar.
Yeah. Okay. And also,
I blew one of them horn things that goes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It comes from Australia too.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called.
Right.
I don't either. I just call it a horn thing. Like I said, it's made out of wood, and it's you got it vibrates your all the way through it, kind of deal. The way it's made.
And the only other
what else you got?
I only got 2 more things, and we discussed this yesterday. I am still on that fence, though, but my beliefs, my personal beliefs, have always been flesh and blood until you could show me different. I like to discount everything. And I've had a couple experiences just not long ago that I question now.
I think we do. That's it.
Yes. Okay. When I looked it up on YouTube, they called it a bull roarer. That's why. That's the only sound that I could figure it was close enough to that I could describe it to somebody. And I ask everybody I run across in this field about, have you ever heard this? Because this is something that just has stumped me. Also, I have had not long ago, well, it's been a while, when we were out camping the one time, we were sitting around the campfire. I did hear there was like I said, in the campground, there was a trail that went down the hill down there that I felt very uncomfortable when I went down there. And also my meter went off when I went down there too. But I had something that said, I had something that sounded like a baby saying, mama, mama. I had that happen. It said it twice to me. I looked at Joe. I said, Joe, did you hear that? Did you hear it? And he said, no, he didn't hear that at all. And then just recently, I have also found that we were driving the back road of the forest, small area there, and I happened to see movement on the side of the road, like something had just crossed through there, was cutting through there. I saw the movement. It caught my eye of the brush there, and I could see like a gray black, and it was big, whatever it was, like I'd say over 6 foot. For some reason, I kept saying moose. It reminded me of that color. I watched it. It was right there. I could see through the bush there. I could see all of a sudden it looked like something on Star Trek. It went boom and vanished. Stop. You know, I still got to cook you supper.
I've heard that though. That you're talking about.
Right. It dematerialized. It just went just like that. And I said something to Joe right then. I didn't tell him that it dematerialized because he'd said, you can knock that off, And it was just, I figured, I'd catch a bunch of flack off of him. So I didn't even bother. But that's what I saw. I discussed that with Chris Reinhardt, that I had seen that. And also, we have heard screams that the audio I haven't sent you yet because I dissect it so much and I've been busy. And we have been out running the roads too, camping and going different places and visiting with people. We do not booger hunt, or normally when we go out on these camp outs, we go to visit and hang out and to meet people. We can do all that here at home. We don't have to do that out there. But when we were at Holland's, there was some screams that we heard, and it is documented, but it isn't my film to show. So there was 3 of them. Mark Green was there.
We need to get you on that, Spencer, let you listen to it.
Yeah, Mark Green was there. He heard them. Everybody was there. There was probably, 35, 40 people there that all heard it.
I want to say something when we get through.
And then there was, after everybody left, Mark sat with us. We all sat around the fire. There was only maybe 5 of us there and stuff. We heard things there as well. And we heard some hollers, and Mark heard them as well.
If you're talking about that part in Alabama, I mean, whenever I left there, there's no doubt in my mind that there's something there. I didn't catch the greatest evidence. But there's no doubt in my mind that there's activity there. Huh?
How come you weren't recording that?
I did. Yeah. A lot of the recordings were so far away that, like, even trying to show them on the spectrograph,
flared or whatever.
Oh, I had the flare going. I didn't catch nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The thing is my stuff is usually sitting in the back seat of a backpack before I even get it out, or and I do it. He is the hunter. He's out doing these things, and I go along with him. But I'm not hunting for turkey or looking for deer signs or anything. I am doing the booger side of it.
I'd like to say something when you get through.
I'm done.
Okay. Our, and I don't know if I can say this on this channel without causing trouble, but our Bigfooting and all is brought to you by Ford trucks, tri-field meters, ATN. I use string fishing line when I'm fishing. I'm taking the fishing the fishing deal where we caught the big fish on all these different things. We
Right.
will take sponsors. This is all bought out of hand.
We will take sponsors.
Nobody looks at it this way. I'm the first to come out with this. We're going to give all our, when we had these booger sites, we was probably burning Chevron gas. I'm just putting it out there.
You lost everybody when you said Ford.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
The only reason I have a Ford because my Chevrolet give up. Anyway, anyway, we're not sponsored by it, but we use their products, and I want to say that we use Apple products and Galaxy products. I'd like to say these things because, we can take a sponsor on it anytime anybody wants us to push their stuff. We'd be up. And everybody out here in TV land just take the same. Why not? Why not use what we got?
If y'all happen to catch like the next Patterson Gimlin film, if y'all catch the next thing that is something in the Bigfoot world, we're going to go back and attach this little section to the beginning of it and be like, see, you could have made bank off of this.
How many people does that though? They catch the big fish on the lake. They were using this kind of bait and that kind of fishing line. They're looking for sponsorships. So.
Show him what you've been making. This is what he's been doing. Well, I've been working in the yard for a week.
This is for a drop box.
This is for
sound drop box. And then
he's been doing this for me.
I've been building these little drop box holders. Now that one there, I put a little bit of
his week of retirement because he's
I put a little
officially
bit
retired now.
Oh, really?
On it.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I don't know if he's gonna.
we'll go to LBL by ourselves.
I don't know if I'm gonna
where
make
we can
it.
go. We'll just
Oh,
down
stop
the
it.
trail.
Send him back to work.
Stop it.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it. He's not
I'm
gonna make
sure.
it. He's not gonna live through it all. I'm not, one of us. But that's really pretty much all we have.
Is that all?
Think of right now. I mean, the thing is we don't really share too much of it. Not so much. I have a little bit now, but I just did it for myself.
Yeah.
Just for the hobby, the entertainment is what I've done it.
We're
for.
just like everybody
Curiosity.
else. Curiosity.
I want to know. I want the answers myself personally. That's all. I don't need to do a channel. I don't need to do any of that.
You're never going to be able to prove it to other people. I don't think.
Recorders.
That's
one of our
he
products
buys all
too.
of me these recorders.
They don't give this stuff away, people. If you want us to go deeper in the woods, we gotta have it.
That's right.
Is that not the way it's done? I'm just saying.
Joe, all I'm saying is if this works and you guys start getting sponsored, I'm going to be the next one out there being like, brought to you by.
Brought to you by.
It
kills me.
I get my yard done quicker with a hustler mower so I can get in the woods. And that's the way I do. I ride Honda.
So Husky and Honda need to be involved with this too. Here we go.
Yeah, we have pit grills, so we have an extra bit of pulled pork because our hosts don't have any damn pulled pork. Anyway,
he sucks.
And so we run pit grills over here, pit balls. That's the way we roll. I'm just saying, anybody needs it, we'll be more than happy to put that on our truck. Got a stick in it. We put it on our. What kind of RV we got? Imagine something other.
Oh.
We run all that. Anybody needs to, we'll be more than happy to support y'all with a sticker on our truck.
Yeah, and we seem to have more activity with the camper than we do with actually tent camping. I call it the jungle gym because I'm waiting for something to climb on top of it. I'm horrified.
Better hope not.
I'm horrified. Climb up that ladder, ladder to the top.
Just that one story right there. If I had something come up and actually shaking the camper and everything, that'd probably give me a little bit of pause for a while as far as going back out in a camper. But
it would It was a little bit spooky.
You know,
A
I
little
heard
bit
people.
spooky.
I heard people, you know, play down the campers and the generators. Them
We heard
things
all
don't
through
care
that.
if they don't want. I think they're like rural, in urban and rural type thing. Like you got these deer that live right in the edge of city limits, coyotes and everything. They don't pay nothing no attention. Now you go way deep in the woods where you're at, you break one twig, the ones 2-3 miles back there, they're probably aware something's wrong. But up here where we make all this racket, they don't pay that no attention. Them deer don't pay that no attention. They hear it at the house up there, somebody beat banging and mowing their yard and all that mess.
Yeah.
I know I've heard stories, and you have too, about them snatching somebody off a tractor or something. But that generator don't seem to bother them at all. They use it for cover to get up there on you.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. They probably use that to their advantage. Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, we ain't the only people in the woods. You know, you got there's constantly somebody out there going through the woods out there camping and all. Most of these places are camping by non-Bigfooters or non-cryptid hunters or whatever. You know, they're too drunk to know anything's on their tin, or will you quit throwing that stick over here? You know, don't even know nothing's going on. They're so drunk or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know.
We dealt with that our last trip. Hollering.
Yeah. You know what? You know what was really crazy, and it really got Joe and I the other night, is after we talked to you, Spencer, and it was evening, we decided to build a fire out here in the backyard. Now we're on the edge of town, but we're in town. Did you know there was a whippoorwill in the tree right there?
It mysteriously came and went.
It mysteriously came and went, which we found it really odd.
Yeah. We don't have it right here.
We don't have whippoorwills here.
In the woods we do, but we don't have them here.
No, they're typically in more wooded areas, not right.
Yeah, there was
out
one right
close to towns.
I mean, I know
right
you've
in
been.
our tree.
I know you've been out camping, and they just about blow you out of the campsite to be so loud on top of it.
Yeah.
You know,
well, out here,
and I'll be
out here where I live.
I think
unusual for here.
They got right Bigfoot out there, but I think it's other things out there, and whether it's cryptid, where it's paranormal. I think it's some
we
stuff.
Were told that
you just can't answer everything and put it on a Bigfoot.
Didn't a police officer tell us that?
Yeah,
he said there's other things out there.
You just can't put it all on Bigfoot. I mean, y'all have shows about the little one and this and that and the other, and people's having them all the time. But I'm just wondering how much stuff are we missing? You know, I think we got to be missing some stuff.
I didn't think nothing about Bigfoot till I started looking into it, and now I'm convinced.
That's a can of worms you done opened up.
I'm telling you, there's a couple worms in that can that I don't want to have no part of, but I think there probably is more than what we realize there is. And I'm way open to the fact that there's, you know, like you were saying, we put it all on Bigfoot, but, you know, who knows what it is? I mean, it could be a lot of different stuff. But
it's a lot of mixed information that's got me thrown off about. We got the good old boy when it does everything kind of cookie cutter. Then you got something does something different, and then, you know, it's like everyone ain't gifted with the same gifts. Yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you know, just like Patty was, and if you could pop in a portal, why don't you pop in Super One and get you something out of the cooler and go back out?
Why aren't they robbing Walmarts in the middle of the night?
Yeah, I
mean, you got a good point.
Except they would have to fight the people around there. I'm not saying anybody. I can't say any of that, but they'd have to fight the locals off because they don't have no use for no TVs. So I don't think.
Yeah. But yeah, we are their TV. But yeah, it's like I don't know. It's all a mystery, and we're still trying to find the answers.
Very well said, indeed, guys. We've been on here. What?
Sorry?
What?
Said our government's going to turn all that over one day.
Yeah,
They're gonna tell us all the truth one day.
they won't even come out and tell you what actually happened with JFK. We've been on here about 2 hours, y'all. So
Wow.
we'll go ahead and wrap it up. If there's anything else you want to say to anybody, if anybody else, look at him. Look at him.
Is anybody left?
He thinks he's funny.
Yeah. We've already been told about that.
Well,
That's
all I
right.
can say, Bama, if they got Bigfoot and you open up that can of worms, where do you stop?
I'll tell you exactly where we're going to stop talking about it. As soon as somebody talks about Dogman, that's where we stop. That's where everybody goes. Eventually, Eventually, it's always Bama. Bama and Larry Porch stir up stuff.
It's okay, Bama. We'll get on and talk about it one day whenever Spencer's
not around. Eventually, I'm going to do a show.
If you're in the Nephilim camp, like a lot of people are, and we are, whatever, how do you know where that all? I mean, it's a lot of crazy things could be derived from that.
That's why I've said this before, and I think maybe people misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you shouldn't believe in the supernatural or the woo aspect of it or the Nephilim. I'm not saying that, because everybody has got their own opinions on how all this stuff works. But what I will say is, if you go at this subject, in my opinion, if you go at this subject from the very get-go, starting out that it's mystical, magical, supernatural qualities and everything, it's very easy to not stop and consider, well, it could have been this, it could have been that. For example, sticks in trees like that could be caused by a flood. Oh, thank you. You know what I'm saying? But if you just instantly look at it and go, "Oh, that's a booger. A booger did that." If you don't try to rule it out, you're jumping to a lot of conclusions real easy, and it's very shaky as soon as you go down the woo, mystical, magical part of it, because you can use that to cover anything. You can say, "Hey, they just disappear in portals. Hey, they mind speak." If they can do all that, it's amazing that they would leave any kind of physical evidence. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying you got to have a baseline to start all this stuff with. Thank you, Bill.
How are you on the cloaking like the Predator? Where's your stand on that?
I mean, I don't know what they can do. I've heard the stories. Yeah. My opinion is until I see one disappear like what Pat has, maybe then I'll have a different perspective about it. But I also trying to think about this rationally.
Oh, okay.
Something throwing a rock at you right now?
No, I think our
shade went up on top of the roof.
His shade went on top of the roof.
It's the same way here. I've been hitting my mic mute to try to keep from cutting the sound out on you guys when you're talking.
It's the shade.
But back to our story. I don't know. I've heard that from other people that Bigfoot that live in the woods and that they can make themselves unseen, so to speak. And I'm not talking about walking behind a bush, but that's what he's telling me.
Whatever a booger is, if they could produce infrasound and it can scramble your brain being hit by infrasound, which we know it can. I mean, we use it in weaponry.
Right.
But if it can scramble your brain, who's to say that whenever you get jolted with infrasound, you don't kind of go all fuzzy, and that's what people are saying, hey, this thing just dematerialized or disappeared. I don't know, and I'm not ruling anything out, but I'm trying to think of more flesh and blood logic-based explanations for it before I go, okay, this is so crazy, it's got to be supernatural.
That's
agree all with I'm saying.
I'm just experiencing a few different things now, you know. And one people, they are not pets. They are not pets.
I'm
Yeah.
on that camp
Stop
too.
treating them like they're pets.
If you're not going to touch a bear or a mountain lion,
That's
and
right.
He may have a good week and walk right by you, but I wouldn't give my life to do it.
There's 411 out there, you know, and I don't understand that.
It's a lot of things we just don't understand about these people going missing, and we'll get on this just briefly.
No.
People going missing, I can understand that. He got Alzheimer's, he walks off, or a spell hits her. If he dies with an aneurysm or something, you're going to find his body skull. Some redneck's going to walk over
Something.
sooner or later. And when we find people, unless it's wrongdoing in it, and nothing's there, no gun, no backpack, and he's lived there all his life, and he's been a woodsman, and he's all these things. To me, I got to start looking at, well, hell, did somebody off him and bury all that stuff? I mean, you just don't. His body's found very, very seldom, like we was talking about. But this garbage in the woods, you can go anywhere you want to. It's still pull tab Budweiser somewhere in the woods right now. You didn't think nobody been there in your life, or whatever. The garbage don't go anywhere. It stays out in the woods when it's stowed down. But we're not finding anything on these people. We're not finding hide in the hair when they go missing. It's a lot of mysterious stuff going on in these United States.
They just found all those cattle with the tongues missing from them. Who knows? Who knows?
Let me tell you this. This week, Super One had a sale on tongues. I'm not saying it's the same. But they had tongues for sale this week, and I'm not saying it's tied together, but it might be. You got to look in the all-fall in the all-fall section. It's right next to the tripe. You got the tongues. Just give me a word of advice.
See, he just took the woo aspect of it right out. He's like, hey, grocery.
I'm just saying.
Exactly.
They're saying.
Oh, leave it to Joe.
You boil them for a long time. That gummy part comes right off.
Cajun.
No.
I bet she's done hogs
please,
chitlins before. Look at her. She was like a chitlin man from way back.
Oh man.
Ain't that right?
You're
a chitlin man.
bear.
He'll eat anything but possum.
She's. What do they like out of the bear and bear fat? They got a gland. What's that?
I don't.
The gallbladder in the bear. The gallbladder in the bear.
Yeah, the
liver.
gallbladder. That's what I'm talking about.
No.
That's probably Misty's probably selling stuff on the black market.
Yeah, right. I don't even use
very
the
clean
until I get on here.
I figured
If
she ain't got no shine on her, I bet she can put her hand on it before dark. I bet you on that. That's just what I'm saying.
I'm in Franklin County, where it comes from.
By the way,
all right.
You hadn't sent a recipe for a pulled pork or rub. What
for the rub, I know. I thought about that yesterday whenever I was doing the ribs.
You said nobody talks cooking. We're going to talk cooking.
We ain't talking cooking now. You done talk 2 hours about your sponsors and bear gallbladders and
his crawfish sponsors too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to
one
get
of
you
my
guys back.
Pat, now's the time. Use the fork on him. Use the fork.
I'm telling you.
But nobody is trying to drum up business. But I'll be the first.
Here he goes.
Give me the credit for it when y'all get people start handing y'all over goods and stuff. Even though they're $1.
His boats and everything else out here.
Oh yeah, I might ought to talk about some of that.
I'm gonna call it a Parker payment. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way, I got to send my address to you so I get my check on today's show.
Yeah. Today will be a high producer. All right, y'all.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it. We
Oh
tried to
my
make
God.
it fun
Oh Lord.
and talk serious a little bit
You
too.
did that.
I think
Oh, yeah.
I think our knowledge of the subject is
Y'all had your chance.
we got a
is
long
all I
ways to
must
go,
say.
and
Had your chance.
I hope
We're gonna
people
get
hunt.
you back.
I hope people hunting this long-eared critter and all that don't find him, because I don't think they can get him in a dog box. I'm just saying. I hope those people
There he
out there.
Hey,
I
if
hope they
they
don't get
want
him.
to talk it, let's
It's
do
hard
it.
It's hard to get a coon in a dog box, much less one of them big critters that's peed off. I hope they don't find one myself. I'm just me. Everybody,
I don't want to know nothing about it.
We'll
I don't
do
want
a
to know
show on
nothing
it.
about it. Eventually,
You ain't
we
gonna
will.
go with them, Spencer?
Eventually, I ain't going to look. Well, I guess I kind of do go look for it, but I ain't seen one. If I ever see one, I'm done. Anyway,
Just get
to
you
everybody,
that little brown stuff that you had yesterday will cure that, or make you see them one.
I'd need a whole lot of that if I ever saw one of those.
Oh yeah, I'm going Browns. Okay.
That little brown stuff you had yesterday.
Okay.
Shush. To everybody that was that watched tonight and commented and everything, thank you a lot. I appreciate it. Misty and I are going to be on Thursday night this coming week in place of Sawdust Beast and Beast of the Woods. We're going to be on there, so we're going to be taking that over, but it will be the Woodwalkers channel. And I got to find somebody in between now and then, because Mark Newbill sprang that on me at the last minute.
Oh wow.
But
hey, we'll talk
yeah,
Dogman.
we can talk about Dogman. That might be a good time to get into that. I won't have to pay no attention.
Hey, get Pat Rand to come on. If you can get Pat Rand, get him.
I've been working on getting Pat on here. He said that he would.
I think it'd be excellent.
He's got a ton.
Anyway.
He's got a ton to talk about. We've got a couple people lined up, and a couple of them will surprise you if they get on here at some point. But anyway, so from all of us here, hey, don't forget to, what?
You're cutting out.
I was going to thank y'all for having us on.
Thank you.
I'm going to thank Flat Rock putting up with us at his place. Keep Crabtree and Falk when we up there. Sometimes they're there. And
William Lunsford and
Squatching Cowboy. We got to do a little squatching with William Lunsford the last time we was at Falk. And Squatching Cowboy. We appreciate everything we've been able to do with these folks, and especially y'all and Mark Green and good old Rebecca, but mostly sisters. That's the one we really like. But anyway, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Oh,
thank you guys so much.
Thank y'all. You had a lot.
Really nice.
You had a lot. Yeah. We could probably make 3 shows out of what y'all have if we went into detail on all this stuff. And maybe we might end up doing that.
Oh, there's more, but that's just the basics.
We might end up doing that. But don't forget to check out Dixie Cryptid, of course. Larry and Mark on Sawdust Beast and Beast of the Woods. Chris Reinhardt with Discover Sasquatch. Our buddy Cowboy, Joe Pass, he's got the Squatching Cowboy. There's other people I'm going to forget. Kyle Connolly with Encrypted Connections. Huh?
Mark and Rebecca.
Mark and Rebecca. See, I knew I'd mess up somebody.
Cedar Creek Bottoms, Farmstead Life.
And everybody ought to be watching that show, because they don't just talk about Bigfoot. They're talking about all kinds of aspects of farmsteading, homesteading, and you learn a ton. And Misty's not such a jerk on that show.
I have 2 aprons from Rebecca that have the farmstead on them. Yes.
I got this. Here's my Cedar Creek Bottoms.
I got the first mug.
They gonna bill you some?
She made a shirt.
They ought to bill you. Get them to bill you some for your channel. But that for your channel.
Maybe we might get to that. But anyway, that's all we got for
Thank you.
tonight. Y'all,
Okay.
I'm going to put you backstage. Don't go nowhere. Don't get off. Just go backstage for a second.
Okay.
And
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Just-
you very much.
Lord, trying to end a show with Joe going on. I'm just kidding.
She wasn't sticking
Seriously,
hard enough with the fork.
I know. I told her to get a fork or a knife and just poke him. All right, everybody have a good night. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you Thursday night, and then probably again on next Sunday. So,
Hey, Sunday, are we going to do, is it going to be just us Sunday or what? Like, are we going to do, well, no, we need to kind of, well, I think opinions from everybody other than you is kind of more important on what they want to see, not just saying.
go away. I don't know what we're doing next Sunday. Till then, good night, everybody. Y'all take care.
See y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
I'm a criminal, sent to swipe and steal.